We're here with head football coach Mike Clark. Eagles coming off a 27-3 loss at Hampton-Sydney, where the defense made some good short field stops, but maybe otherwise things never really got going. What happened with that game?
Well, I think you're not going to go on the road, play a good team like Hampton-Sydney, and try to beat them being one or even two-dimensional. I've always said if you play good defense and you're sound in the kicking game, you'll go into the fourth quarter with a chance to win the game. And certainly at 13-3, we had that. But that being said, from an offensive point of view, us not really being able to convert. Ross got hurt. We had to go with Matt, the duration, and certainly when you look at the yardage totals that we had, and particularly in the second quarter when we were in there, and I think we took some necessary risk and we didn't convert those. You're not going to go out and win scoring 3 points and having 8 or 9 first downs in a football game or whatever we had. That being said, too, I think our defense are well aware there's things they need to do. We got to force some turnovers. When you have an offense that's struggling, you got to give them the short field. A couple times we had Hampton-Sydney backed up and we didn't make our stops till they got on our side of the 40, and you really kind of got to hold that field position. And I think our defense on Saturday really had a great red zone mentality, but they also have to transfer that when they get a team backed up inside the 20, make them punt from there, particularly when you have an offense that's struggling a little bit. And we're going to have to sit down and regroup. I think, going forward, offensively, we need to make some moves and we need to make plays. We need to get explosion plays. Big plays make people look smart, and those really have been absent from Bridgewater offensively throughout most of the season here.
Yeah, a troubling trend, even in your 3 wins. It's just the team has seemed to start slow. Even in those victories, you're down at halftime against Shenandoah. I think had 3 total first quarter points in the wins over Apprentice and Greensboro. What does this team have to do this weekend to get out, get on the right foot, get some momentum going?
Well, I think that, no question, it's been an Achilles heel for us. We haven't scored on the first drive of a game, through 8 games. I think we tried as best we can put a tight script together that kind of features the strengths of what we feel we have offensively going against the defense that we see. When we're not flippant, particularly in those early series. But when things get going bad, you really have to work your way out. You have to work your way out. It doesn't change by showing up. Certainly the season as a whole, it's been disappointing for a lot of us. There's no question, but we still have 2 weeks to help define it, and certainly people will remember how you finished much more than how you started, and we're well aware of that situation. I don't know what a Bridgewater team would look like if we went into halftime with momentum, with the lead. I think that would be a team that could be still formidable, and I think we got enough talent and enough energy to be dangerous, and we're just going to have to regroup it and make sure it shows quickly here against Randolph-Macon and see what that does for us as a whole team, not just making it about our offense.
Well, turning to Randolph-Macon, this week's opponent, probably down for a second straight year in the win-loss column, but they maybe gave Washington and Lee, the ODAC leader, their toughest test. We're closest to beating them. What should we expect from that?
Well, I think you got to look at people. You come in and study Randolph-Macon. You're right. They had a big win last week. They beat Shenandoah soundly at home. But when you go back and study it, Washington and Lee had a 94-yard drive late in the fourth quarter to beat them. Emory and Henry had a drive late in the fourth quarter to beat them. And really, they're one of those teams that early in the season was just on the cusp. They had 3 or 4 Guilford games like we had here 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden that put them a little bit behind the 8 ball. And at this stage in the game, I think our kids can come in and study that and say, hey, this is a team that's actually playing fairly well. I think they've settled on a quarterback situation. They're the Wisconsin in our league in terms of how they're going to play. They're going to play with big bodies, big tailbacks, big tight ends, and I have a lot of respect and a lot of I can empathize with what our defense has had to go through. Now we've got another game, and you've got an offense that is completely different from the previous 3 that we've had to play that were all completely different. And, it's been a big challenge for our kids defensively to try to have to go out and switch gears, switch mindsets. And like somebody made a comment, they said, what kind of defense do you run? My answer would be, what week is it? And we've had to make that switch here again this week, but we got to try to get them some early help. You hit that nail right on the head, Jimmy. We got to get points. I will say this about Randolph-Macon. They got a young quarterback that's playing for them. You can tell, playing catch-up isn't what they want to do. That isn't in their MO. They're kind of a grind. It'll be a short possession game in terms of the time they want to give you the ball. And us being able to do something early will be important.
So with 2 games to go, sort of philosophically, I do think a positive is we're seeing more and more young players emerging on this team. Obviously, the last game will be senior day. Is there any emphasis at all at trying to see what some young players can do in a game like this, or is it just business as usual?
Well, I think, I owe it to the program and the kids. I mean, yeah, I got to look short and long term. There's no question about that. But the bottom line is, we're going to get by midweek, I'm going to sit here and say, what do I need to do to win on Saturday? That's critical for us right now. We got to kind of stop the bleeding. I think if we can just make a stand at one point, what we can show over these next 2 weeks isn't just about sending the seniors outright. I know what it's like to win at the end of the year. That gives you momentum to carry through. I also know what it is to limp through, a final season. And I'm proud of our kids. I don't think they've taken that approach. You could look at it and say, hey, it ends in 2 weeks. No, we're still working for it, and we're still trying to do the same thing, prepare, have fun, and we're a team that has nothing to lose. So I can fake a punt on my 25, and if it doesn't work, so be it. And I think as long as we take that attitude and that approach, I'm hoping my kids can continue to bring the energy they bring. Now, we just got to match energy with a little bit of execution and performance.
All right, well, it's Hall of Fame weekend, so Eagles playing for the only second time at home in the last 7 weeks. Hopefully we'll have a big crowd there. We'll honor our new Hall of Fame inductees the night before, and we hope to see everybody there.
Well, I don't have a bus trip in the morning before the game, so I'm actually looking forward to that. And my hope is, hey, hang with us, and we bring some energy, the fans bring some energy, and let's see if we can't finish this thing on the right note. I mean, there's a bell, at least from a football point of view, it's got a little bit of dust on it. We got to go knock it off.